I had been with Marcus for nearly 5 years, and by all accounts, we were happy. We had our rhythm, a life built on routine, mutual respect, and genuine affection. But sometimes we can be so wrapped up in what we're building that we lose sight of what we're made of. This all changed when I met Genevieve. Genevieve was my colleague, someone who, over the course of a few months, had become a close friend. She was unlike anyone I'd ever known, sharp-witted, confident, and daring, with an ability to see the world differently. Where Marcus was steady and reliable, Genevieve was electric, a spark that brought new life into my days. Our friendship began casually, enough lunches between meetings, coffee breaks where we would talk about everything from the latest projects to our thoughts on life, ambition, and dreams. I found myself looking forward to our conversations in a way that went beyond friendship. Her humor felt like a burst of color against the monotony of my days. One evening, while working late, she invited me to grab a drink at a bar nearby. I agreed without hesitation, thrilled by the spontaneity of it. Over glasses of wine, our conversation turned to more personal topics. I told her about Marcus, and she shared her own journey of accepting herself as bisexual. The honesty between us was disarming, making me feel as though I could tell her anything. The evening became a turning point. As I listened to her talk about her experiences, I felt a strange stirring within me, something I hadn't felt before. It was as if I was waking up from a long, dreamless sleep, discovering a part of myself that had been hidden. I was drawn to her, not only as a friend but as something more. Days passed, and our connection deepened. One afternoon, we ended up at her apartment after a team event. I don't remember how it happened, but there was a moment, a brush of her hand against mine, a lingering gaze that seemed to stop time. She looked at me, her expression open, and I realized that she understood. Without a word, I leaned in, our lips meeting in a kiss that was both gentle and intense. It felt like finding a missing part of myself. This new connection was liberating, but it also frightened me. I felt as if I were walking on a tightrope, balancing between the life I knew and something undiscovered. My relationship with Genevieve remained discreet, but every interaction with her became charged with emotion. I knew I had to talk to Marcus. The guilt was beginning to wear me down, but how could I explain to him something that I was still struggling to understand myself? Eventually, the weight of it became unbearable. One evening, as we sat at the dinner table, I looked at Marcus and realized that he deserved the truth. I had planned what I would say over and over, but no rehearsed words came to mind when the moment finally arrived. So, I spoke from the heart. Marcus, there's something I need to tell you. My voice sounded strange, even to my own ears. His face softened with concern, his hand reaching across the table to hold mine. It took everything in me to continue. I've met someone. I began, my words halting. I didn't plan for this to happen, and it doesn't change how much I care about you. But I need to be honest about who I am. He looked at me, his expression shifting as the weight of my words sank in. I could see the questions forming in his eyes, and the hurt as realization dawned on him. It's not another man, I said, almost a whisper. It's a woman. The silence that followed was unbearable. He looked down at his hands, a faint tremor betraying the emotions he was fighting to control. Are you happy? He finally asked, his voice barely audible. It was such a simple question, yet it held the depth of his love, his hope, and his pain. I don't know, I replied honestly. I'm confused. This isn't about replacing you or forgetting what we have. It's about understanding a part of myself that I didn't know existed. We talked for hours. He was heartbroken, yet patient, listening as I tried to put my emotions into words. I told him about Genevieve, about the spark she had reignited in me. He didn't interrupt, though I could see the sadness in his eyes deepen. After a long silence, he stood, walked over to me, and placed a hand on my shoulder. I just want you to be happy, Aurelia. Whatever that means, his words were a balm, though they didn't erase the ache in my heart. We agreed to give each other space to process and understand what this would mean for us moving forward. Marcus and I ended our relationship soon after, though he remained a friend, someone I could talk to openly. Genevieve and I continued to explore our relationship, and she helped me understand more about myself than I ever thought possible. The journey was challenging, yet it was one of self-discovery, a path that led to a deeper understanding of who I was beyond the roles and expectations. In the end, it wasn't about choosing between Marcus and Genevieve. It was about choosing authenticity, embracing every facet of who I was, and learning that love, no matter where it's found, must